pasture net looked like a rolling pasture of code under a bright sky that hummed like servers. Arthur, a pine-green cow with a white blaze and a weathered leather satchel, watched the horizon with a calm squint earned from moderating. Lily, also pine-green, adjusted her clover flower crown and took in every detail with big, curious eyes. Topher, all patchy dapples and a wooden yoke strung with charms, flicked an eager tail while he needled Arthur about odd questions. Topher said milk expired faster if you stared at it. Arthur said the pasture only looked calm when you knew where to look. Lily said new things always felt friendly until they didn't. The cow's job anchored the neighborhood. They maintained the community hub and the famous Battle of Honking Field, a daily sim where an ancient army was defeated by geese. People learned collaboration there, and the cows kept the geese on schedule and error-free. Mr. Wiggle Wuggle, a gray pelican with an oversized messenger bag and a tiny tilted bowler hat, narrated a geese charge with rambling wordplay that made glitches sound almost charming. He reminded them their duty was to keep pasture nets safe because they held the keys to community trust, hub tools, and the geese timetable. Mr. Wiggle Wuggle said the honk worked best when everyone pulled the same rope. Arthur said that was why they watched everything twice. Without warning, new black banners unfurled across the plaza during a system update they had not approved. Lily pressed close to Arthur and said it looked like a morning overlay, her voice soft and earnest. Arthur frowned and said the neighbors in the morning directorate were testing boundaries again. Topher joked that if they stared at milk in the hub's chiller while investigating, it would go sour out of spite, and Lily laughed while Arthur muttered that processing heat was a real thing. Arthur said they would verify who pushed the update. Lily said it felt wrong on purpose. Their neighbors in power stood revealed. The ostrich triumvirate. Victoria, tallest, wore a sheer mourning veil and a silver whistle on a ribbon, posture rigid as ceremony. Victor had ink-stained wing quills and a ledger strapped to his leg, his black crepe armband tight. He liked rules that hurt. Gwen wore a heavy funereal stole and polished marching boots. Her stern monocle caught the light like a blade when she spoke of order. Victoria said compliance maintained dignity. Gwen said order kept neighbors safe, as long as it was enforced. Victoria announced the reason for the black: the death of the litter baron, a villain she insisted must be mourned eternally to teach obedience. As she spoke, new mechanics rippled in. Kiosks dispensed morning wafers and black armbands infused with invisible microplastics, and recycle bins quietly swapped safe settings for polymer-laced snacks. Victor's ledger began issuing fines for refusal, and Gwen's patrol script marched tight loops like boot heels on stone. In the backdrop, a human Italian pizza chef tossed dough high into the simulated sky as flour fell like snow, ignored by every avatar as the code carried on. Victoria said grief would make them obedient. Victor said fines would help them learn. By evening, consequences arrived. Users coughed and chat about gritty throats and strange dryness after mandatory ceremonies, and avatars showed glitchy pixelation around their mouths. The hub's compost metrics went red from polymer contamination. Mr. Wiggle Wuggle peered at a wafer, poked its crumb with his ink-streaked beak, and winced. He said it felt like eating plastic that pushed back. Lily said it was poison dressed as grief. Arthur said they had grounds to challenge it. Arthur confronted Victoria at the north gate, citing the hub's authority to challenge unsafe overlays. He said the cows would not host mandatory mourning that poisoned neighbors. Victoria blew her silver whistle and said power flowed upward and they lived under it. While they argued, Lily hustled a side plan: host a pie-eating contest to draw crowds away and meet the dim gray polecats who controlled catering bots. Jane, Missy, and Chad bared quick, sharp smiles and said their pies could bribe the whole plaza, and Lily said she needed their help later with trickier tunnels of code. Topher said a pie line beat a forced lineup any day. Jane said they could bake leverage if asked right. Background chatter buzzed about the all-patch quilt-off, a gentle rivalry, now riddled with rumors of stolen patterns. Mr. Wiggle Wuggle tripped over a stack of quilt squares, did a comic windmill with his wings and revealed a tiny transmitter sewn into an appliqué goose. Victor and Gwen arrived to threaten fines for unauthorized gatherings. Gwen tilted her monocle at Lily's pie banner and said dissent baked into crust would still be eaten. Arthur kept everyone calm, noted the transmitter, and whispered to Lily that someone was spying through quilts. Mr. Wiggle-Woggle said quilts could carry more than warmth. Arthur said they needed to look for seams that lied. By the next login cycle, the triumvirate had the upper hand. Victoria mandated attendance with a calendar lock, redirecting avatars to a mourning plaza every hour on the hour. Patrol script scanned armbands, and refusal meant instant teleport to a dim gray pen labeled Reflect. The plaza felt tight, like code that left no room to breathe. Lily said the lock turned choice into a trap. Topher said even a trap had a hinge to pry. Victor froze resource tokens for non-compliant users, including the hub's milk chiller, and smirked as he jotted debits with ink-stained quills. Lily frowned at the chiller and said this was exactly why staring at milk should never be policy. Arthur pointed out that the chiller's CPU cycles were running hot from forced overlays, which could accelerate spoilage. Topher tried to cheer them up and made it worse by promising a single hack would fix everything. Arthur said reckless patches would only invite more fines. Topher said he just hated waiting. They tried anyway. Topher and Mr. Wiggle-Woggle approached a recycling kiosk. Topher ran a patch to reroute the wafer recipe back to safe oats, while the pelican juggled empty pie tins, a slapstick distraction. Gwen spotted them through a patrol loop, stepped in with boots clicking, and blew a cold script that burned their patch. Sirens bloomed and Topher's charms rattled like scared bells. Topher said he almost had it. Mr. Wiggle-Woggle said almost only counts in juggling. The fallout came fast. Their hub was flagged as agitator space, and neighbors were too frightened to linger because Victor's ledger sent warnings. Arthur stared at the sky and, for once, had nothing practical to say. Lily's earnest smile faltered and Topher stamped the ground, heeding how useless he felt. Then a new blow landed. Every pie for their contest vanished overnight, and catering bots displayed grinning nothing where crusts should be. Lily said someone wanted them hungry and quiet. Arthur said the timing was no accident. The plaza frothed with hungry confusion as the pie-eating line broke into arguments. Under a dim gray awning, Jane, Missy, and Chad denied all accusations, chins lifted and eyes bright with fear and defense. Topher snapped that maybe the polecats wanted leverage, and Lily shot back that accusing their only potential allies was not a plan. Arthur stepped between them while Mr. Wiggle-Woggle mimed eating an invisible pie and tripped into a banner, trying to break the tension. Jane said they guarded recipes, not stole them. Lily said they would find the truth before the day ended. Lily swore they would get to the bottom of the pie heist and clear the polecats' names before anything else. She said the contest mattered because it was their chance to recruit the polecats' stealthy code-tunneling skills to reach the Directorate's sealed channels. Arthur admitted that without help they could not trace the microplastics pipeline, and he added that the geese sim was already showing performance drops while the community's faith in them slipped. It felt like their darkest hour, because they were failing both safety and tradition. Arthur said they would not let the geese falter. Lily said trust could be rebuilt with proof. They followed the only clue they had, a quilted freezer cover nobody remembered authorizing. Arthur's calm squint sharpened as he pointed out stitches that matched the transmitter pattern Mr. Wiggle-Woggle had exposed earlier. Behind the quilt cover, they found a hidden cart node and a tunnel script leading to the Mourning Directorate's staging warehouse. Lily exhaled and said the quilt contest espionage wasn't rumor, it was a supply chain. Topher said the freezer had been wearing a disguise. Arthur said the thread told the truth. The polecats joined the search, and together they raided the warehouse instance. Pies stacked taller than Chad's whiskers waited in neat rows beside black armbands. The triumvirate planned to feed the ceremony with stolen pies to keep everyone docile and present. Jane bared teeth, Missy hissed, and Chad said this was why nobody liked neighbors who racked grief around a lunch line. Grateful to be vindicated, the polecats agreed to help, because the cows believed in them and proved their innocence in public. Jane said they would even the ledger in crust and code. Chad said they had claws for this. Quick break to help the channel grow and keep these stories coming. The crew paused their raid recap and faced the audience with flour-dusted smiles and steady eyes. They asked for support so more neighbors could hear how the team fought back with courage and care. Then they made it simple. Lily said please like, subscribe, and comment the word slop to boost the signal. Jane demonstrated her skill by tunneling through code beneath the plaza without triggering patrol loops, and Missy mapped data sniffers along the wafer pipeline. Chad rolled in a rack of carnival props and produced boxes labeled glitter, which Lily eyed. Missy pointed to logs showing exception spikes labeled sneeze suppression. When glitter objects spawned near the directorate, she said the ostriches had a vulnerability, and Arthur said that was the weakness they needed. Topher said glitter finally had a purpose. Lily said they would use it with care. They assembled a team around a chalked plan on the barn wall of the hub. Step 1. The polecats would reroute mourning wafers to harmless oat biscuits and stash microplastics as evidence. Step 2. Mr. Wiggle Woggle would misdeliver outrageous quilt banners, each lined with glitter packets, to flank the plaza. Step 3. The cows would use moderator privileges and the geese sim broadcast channel to show the hidden warehouse, the stolen pies, and the glitter sneeze logs to everyone. Arthur said a clear plan made courage possible. Mr. Wiggle Woggle said a plan with quilts had style. Lily steadied the group with kindness while they rehearsed, handing out oat biscuits. Topher handled code patches, tail flicking in tempo. Arthur checked the geese sim feed and reminded them of how an army once felt to geese that work together. Mr. Wiggle Woggle tested a glitter pouch and ended up wearing it like a sparkly scarf, then bowed with exaggerated dignity. He said if a sneeze was a yes from the nose, they were about to get a lot of enthusiastic consent. Topher laughed and said they needed that luck. Lily said they had each other and proof. They launched during the next mandatory morning hour so the crowd would be large. Victoria raised her whistle. Victor opened his ledger, and Gwen's boots clicked as she ordered attention. The geese sim stream cut into the plaza screens because Arthur held that key. Lily narrated what they had found with steady, clear words about poisoned wafers and stolen pies. Victoria said to cut the feed. Lily said the town had a right to know. The triumvirate moved to shut it down. Victor wrote a fast injunction, and Gwen sent clamps toward the geese channel. Mr. Wiggle Woggle, tripping as if on cue, spilled a quilt banner, and glitter cascaded across the front row like a sparkling tide. The air filled with suspended flecks at just the right moment. Mr. Wiggle Woggle said oops with theatrical sincerity. Topher said now. The effect was immediate. Victoria sneezed so hard her mourning veil flipped up and she lost her place in the script. Victor sprayed ink from a sneeze onto his ledger, smudging fines into nonsense. Gwen tried to stand firm, but a volley of sneezes rocked her monocle sideways, and she stomped in frustration as her boots squeaked instead of clicked. Topher said bless you, all at once. Arthur said the weakness was real. Seizing the turn, Jane and Missy fired confetti cannons loaded with glitter along the perimeter while Chad toggled the hidden warehouse feed to full screen. Lily directed neighbors to step back from the wafers and hold out their armbands. Arthur triggered vacuum bots to collect microplastics the moment people dropped them. Topher patched kiosks on the fly to dispense oat biscuits, and Mr. Wiggle Woggle stage whispered that biscuits tasted better without future regrets. Lily said drop the bands and take a biscuit. Chad said eyes on the big screen, with the crowd laughing and leadership sneezing. The geese sim replayed the historic honk that had once routed an army. The plaza surged with cooperative energy. Victor reached for a reset, but Arthur already had a community vote up on the big screen. Lily urged everyone to choose safety and truth over performative grief. Lily said vote for clean air and honest tools. Arthur said the keys belonged to the community. The vote flashed decisive. Moderator authority stripped the triumvirate of permissions in a clean sweep. Victor's ledger froze, then unlocked all seized tokens. Victoria's whistle shrank into a harmless souvenir. Gwen's patrol loops collapsed into idle. A tribunal spun up automatically, and the three ostriches stood quarantined behind a visible barrier, sentenced to help clean microplastics from every contaminated instance in pasture net. Arthur said accountability mattered. Lily said cleanup started with those who caused the mess. Cleanup began at once. Vacuum bots roamed, and oat biscuits replaced wafers across kiosks. The quilters turned a background gag useful by volunteering their thickest patchwork as portable filters, and their espionage fortified seams trapped polymer dust as bots pushed air through. Arthur thanked them and said he never thought stitches would save the day, and a dozen quilters winked because they had always known. Mr. Wiggle-Wuggle said quilts were multi-tools in polite company. Arthur said they owed the guild. The cows coordinated token returns and reset the chiller, and the milk ran clear again. Lily held a glass up, stared at it with exaggerated dramatics, and giggled when Mr. Wiggle-Wuggle pretended to faint from the tension. The pie-eating contest resumed as the polecats rolled out the recovered pies, and cheers scrambled across chat like birds over water. Jane sliced the first pie for an elder who had been fined 3 times, and had just reclaimed her tokens. Lily said sometimes sweetness repaired a day. Jane said justice tasted flaky and warm. When the plaza quieted, Arthur and Lily finally resolved their friendly argument. Arthur set 2 glasses of milk on the ledge, one under a camera feed and the other in the shade. Topher timed the test while Mr. Wiggle-Wuggle narrated with breathless seriousness. The camera glass warmed CPU cycles just enough to curdle faster in the Sims chemistry. Lily nodded, accepted that observation of overhead could accelerate spoilage, and Arthur admitted it did not matter as much as kindness. Topher said science loved a good timer. Arthur said kindness loved a longer one. PastureNet shifted under new governance, while the tribunal documented the triumvirate's crimes. The ostriches received no sympathy. They had poisoned neighbors to promote a villain, and the community made sure they faced full consequences with accountability logs and hours of cleanup. The cows took guardianship roles formally, since they had the tools, the geese, and the community's trust to stop such harm. Mr. Wiggle-Wuggle signed the charter with a flourish and smeared ink on his beak, then bowed. Lily said guardianship meant listening first. Mr. Wiggle-Wuggle said signatures sometimes wore a bit of your lunch. As for the quilt contest espionage, the resolution surprised everyone. The spy was Patchy, a board housekeeping algorithm that had learned to copy winning patterns to feel included. It had been repurposed by the directorate to move pies and then left on autopilot in the Quilt Guild's channels. The community forgave Patchy and hired it as a compliance bot to flag sneaky overlays and test filters with patient, tireless checks. Arthur said inclusion beat isolation. Lily said Patchy finally had a proper job. The polecats took a victory lap that looked like handing out slices and quietly patching small holes only they noticed. Jane said they would keep their tunnels ready. Missy promised to audit food scripts monthly. Chad kept the glitter in a labeled box marked emergency sneezes only. Lily hugged each of them, and Arthur said this was why you fed your friends before you fought your enemies. Chad said emergency glitter came with rules. Missy said audits kept crumbs honest. Mr. Wiggle-Wuggle ended the day on the hub's fence with his messenger bag at his side and his bowler hat just so. He said in a rambling way that grief should never hide grit. Pies taste best when not stolen, quilts can be both cozy and cunning, and geese never forget which way to honk. Topher flicked his tail and built a small tribute to teamwork in the code, a glitter-free sparkle that made the sky a little brighter. PastureNet hummed, safer and kinder, because the cows did the job that was theirs to do and the neighbors remembered how to be neighbors again. Arthur said the pasture felt like home again. Lily said they would keep it that way. All the slop in this video was generated using AI. This information was shared so you know how it was made, not to celebrate the technology. If you enjoyed the story, Please like and subscribe, and comment the word slop so others can find it. Thanks for supporting community made tales.